Travelling north towards Inverness from the south, as you pass by Kingussie, on the right hand side of the road stands a set of ruined buildings. Lots of people know they're there, but a lot of people don't know the history surrounding Ruthven Barracks and the lands round about it. There's been a castle on this site from about 1229, built by the Commons. These, of course, were the arch enemies of the powerful Bruce family, and taking their sides would also seal their fate. The first castle was destroyed in 1451 by John MacDonald of Islay as he tried to impose the Gaelic culture back upon the Highlands. A second castle was built on the site in 1459 by the Earls of Huntly, the chiefs of the powerful Clan Gordon. The second castle on this site was destroyed in 1689 following the Jacobite uprising. The barracks were built here in 1721. It was due to the unrest of the Highlands and the continued threat from Jacobite uprisings. The British government decided to build forts across the Highland and military roads to subdue the powerful Highland clans. Barracks were built at Inversnaid, Ruthven, Kilkern and Benaria as part of a ring of forts that were to subdue, in particular, the MacDonalds and the clans to the west. The buildings themselves would consist of two barrack blocks. Each barrack block was to host 60 men, and it would also be able to hold 28 horses for the dragoons. Each room would host 10 men. There would be two to a bed, and each man would have to use the fire to actually cook his own rations and provide the hot water for his own washing and needs. There was a basement and there was a loft for storage. So here we have the bakehouse and brewhouse. Bread and beer were produced here in the fortress. Men would be given daily rations, but they could also buy extra, with beer being 6 pence a gallon, whiskey at 1 pence a gill, rum 3 pence for a half pint, and porter 2 pence for a bottle. The prices of them were not too bad. Every place has its needs, and latrines were all important. Excuse me, no privacy around here at all. Probably smells a bit better around here now than it did a few hundred years ago. As you can see, the well is actually inside the fortress, which meant that the men were pretty much well protected and self-contained. Around here was actually the drill square, so the men could safely conduct their drill exercises without danger of attack from the nearby clansfolk. But these nice people wouldn't do such things. In the August of 1745, a Jacobite force of about 200 men tried to lay siege to Ruthven Barracks. The garrison of only 12 men successfully held off the Jacobite force. Only one redcoat was killed when he stupidly stuck his head above the parapet. There's reports that 2 Jacobites were killed and many more injured. Built stables. This area was originally the private latrines for the officers. From these stables, 28 dragoons would constantly patrol the military roads around the area. There was a stairway up into the hayloft, and the tact was kept round the back of the stables. As any good Jacobite would end up, like any good military barracks, there was a prison. Prisoners would be kept directly below the guardhouse. Here they would await their fate. Not necessarily just Jacobites, but anybody who had fallen foul of the British Army while they were stationed in the area. So in this section of the barracks we have the prison down below, we then have the guardhouse, and above the guardhouse would be the officers' quarters. Here is the main stairwell to the parapets. From here, the soldiers garrisoned here in the fort can make their way onto the parapets to either keep guard or ward off any threats. All around the fort you can see these placements here, which naturally the men would actually have a position to stand up in here, which to allow them to fire their muskets out through the musket slots. In the April of 1746, the Jacobites would return. It was a day after Culloden, and over 3,000 Jacobites would gather in this area over the next week. The men, after waiting, received a letter from Charles Edward Stuart. The letter would say it was every man for himself and to find their own safety in their own way, and to disband the Jacobite army, despite the fact that there was more men here than actually fought at Culloden Moor. After the order came to disband the Jacobite army, and the last act of defiance, the Jacobites would destroy Ruthven Barracks and leave it in the condition that you see today. Ruthven Barracks now stands as a monument to Scotland's past. It's currently under the care of Historic and Environmental Scotland, and it is actually free to enter. So if you ever find yourself travelling up the A9 towards Inverness, why not stop and investigate for yourself?